Good evening, everybody. It is March 1st, 2022. And tonight we are near the one and only East Village in New York City. Tonight is going to be a quick stream, but we are going to be talking about interest rates. We've been noticing something very interesting in that 10-year US Treasury yield. It's actually come down quite a bit. It's at 1.755%. And if you remember correctly, just a couple weeks ago, or just last week, it was almost at 2%. So Treasury yields has come down a lot. And I think the reason why I want to talk about it, and I think the reason why it's relevant, is because if we think about the housing market, you know, what is really predicated on 30-year rates? And it's really the 10-year Treasury yield, contrary to what a lot of people think. So as we like to go forward and look at the health of the housing market, I think it's important to understand where interest rates are going on that 30-year mortgage note. Are they going higher? Are they going lower? Are they going to stay the same? And will that impact housing in America? So we'll talk about that tonight. Andrew Lee is here, says, yo, what's up from Queens? Good to see you, Andrew. Vinny Castellano is here, says, hey, Tom. How are you doing? I'm doing really well. Marjan Worldwide says, what's up, Skate Bro? Good to see you, Marjan. The one and only Ken Kramer Lewis is here. Andrew Lee says, Action Kid is in your neck of the woods. Yes, I did see that. That's awesome. So Miami, Florida is definitely a beautiful place. So I'm sure he's going to have a good time there, as do I. Fantastic, fantastic place. Miami, Florida. Horatio Snipes is here from Northern Virginia. What's going on? Alan Wilson. What's up, Alan? Good to see you. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of comments saying the housing market is very interesting at this point. You know, there's been a lot of bubble talk. A lot of bubble talk about, is the U.S. housing market in a bubble? Is it similar to 2008? And I think the biggest thing that we need to understand is, you know, there's an old saying on Wall Street that it's never different. So if you say, you know, it's different this time, you know, those are your famous last words. But I think there's not too many similarities between this housing market in 2022 to 2008. Mainly, I think the biggest difference, which is for the better, you know, a lot of the underwriting practices and the lending practices by a lot of these banks are more ethical and more reliable. You know, it's not like back in the day where you had a lot of adjustable rate mortgages flying around, not checking people's income verification or anything like that. But we'll talk about that today. Photos from around New York says, Zola, good to see your photos. London says, hello, what is going on? Michelle O'Rourke says, terrified of heights. Says, hey, so I would like your advice, please, my husband, for our upcoming anniversary. Oh my God, a helicopter ride. I don't know if I could do that. I'm just like you, I can't do the heights. I don't know if I could do that. But please have fun. GGNYC says, good evening, Tom. Good evening, GGNYC. Keith says, are you close to the Stone Street Tavern? I like that place. You know, I'm not. Are we near that? I don't think we're too close, but it's not like it's really, really far away, but pretty close. Good to see you, Keith. Otto is here, says, hello, Tom. Good to see you, Otto. Skip says, hello, Tom. Nice night. What's up, Skip? Vinny Castellano says, Tom, you're more entertaining of knowledge of the State of the Union address. Hilarious. Yeah, so the State of the Union address, what is that going on now? It's going on now, right? So President Joe Biden, I guess, is talking to everybody. Interesting. Keith says, cool. I'll probably watch some of the highlights of that, though. If there's like a highlight reel, I'll probably watch that. But good to see Keith, my pal Keith. Alan Wilson says, Tom, what's going on with all the intel? What's going on with all the international business community in Canada and martial law? I'm not too sure about that, actually. What is going on with that, Alan? So, I mean, the only thing that I know about sort of like international investments is in relation to the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. You know, I think many nations around the globe are working together in order to seize Russian assets. And as we know, the two main hotspots in the United States for a lot of Russian wealth is number one, obviously in New York City, But number 2, it's actually right there in Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. 2 Explores Videos says hello all, good to see you. Community Canner says Tom, the highlights are all you need. Good to see you. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Pixel Logic says happy Tuesday, Tom. Ken Kramer says not watching the State of the Union propaganda address. Hilarious. Hey, the Austin Tennis is here. Austin Tennis, long time no see. The Austin Tennis is our investment banker friend. Well, former investment banker turned PagerDuty account executive. So hope everything is going well over there at PagerDuty. Any updates? How you like it? Cosmo Scary says maybe a good buying opportunity in Sunny Isles. Yeah, I mean, Cosmo, it's crazy. I'm not sure how much you know about Sunny Isles, but it's essentially like the Billionaires Row of Southern Florida. So they have a lot of those swanky sort of apartment buildings. I think they have the Porsche Design Tower, and also they're building the Bentley Tower too, there in Southern Florida, Sunny Isles Beach. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Hey, Nice Guy is here. Says good evening, Tom. Good evening, Nice Guy. Hey, Ruby Falcone is here. Good to see you, Ruby. You know, it's actually not that bad out tonight. It's not too freezing. It's actually warming up, so it's actually pretty nice. In comparison to the back-to-back days of craziness we've had with the cold. Hey, the Swan is here. What's up, the Swan from Ireland? Dutchman says, Tom, hello, Action Kid is in Miami looking for you. Yes. I think he's going to enjoy it. Miami's a great place, great city, a lot of fun people. Chris Beeman says, good evening. And we have the one and only British Gray joining us from Tampa, Florida. DJ, how are you? Good to see you, the Swan. The Austin Tennis says, Tom, PagerDuty is great, but sales is definitely much more stressful than I'm used to. Feels like I'm on the clock all the time. Yeah, that's definitely true. You know, sales is definitely, you know, not for everybody, but if you get good at it, you know, here's a good analogy that I always like to say when talking about sales, right? I think it's just consistency more than anything. So if you can literally force yourself to say, look, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go to the office, and I'm going to segment out my day, and don't get in your own head. If you can just say, look, I don't care about any of the results from today, and I'm just going to sit in the chair and prospect, make 50 calls, take a break, send 100 emails, take a break, and it's terrible and it sucks at first. But what's going to happen is over 2 or 3 years, you're not going to have to do that stuff anymore. Trust me, you're not. Because what's going to happen is you're going to build a book of business of clients that trust you and that know you. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of referral business. So when you first start out in sales or enterprise software sales or enterprise tech sales, it can be quite daunting because nobody knows you, right? So it's pretty much just like it's totally cold and out there. And I think that's why a lot of people quit within their first 2 years. But if you can just stick it out and do the activity, I promise you, you're going to close deals if you just relentlessly pursue it. And the only other piece of advice I would give you is treat every single prospect that you come across as more than just a sale. You want to have these people know you on a first name basis. You want to develop personal relationships with them because the chances are you're probably not going to stay at your tech company forever, right? That's just the reality. You're probably going to move to another tech company, maybe start your own company. And when you start your own business, you want to have people to call on that know you. So that's the piece of advice I would give to you. Hey, Chris Beeman is here. Good to see you. Bernard Friedman, what's up, Bernard? 007 says, my friend used to live in the Porsche Design Tower. Oh, very, very nice. Very nice. The ABX girl says, have you read the Caribbean islands are looking at Russian-owned yachts and other properties now? Yeah, so the ABX girl, I did see some stuff like that. I think they may start looking at things here in New York as well, I heard. The Austin Tennis says, this is great advice. not just for me, but for the entire chat, what happened to the 24/7 stream. So the 24/7 stream will be up soon. Will be up very soon. I just needed more footage for the 24/7 stream. Oh, but also everybody, so I wanted to interview my friend Jim, who runs a hedge fund in Chicago. They manage about $150 million. And in next week's, it's either going to be next week's Behind the Street newsletter or the following week. The newsletter is essentially just going to be an interview with my buddy that runs that hedge fund. So what I want to outline in that newsletter for all the readers is to show you guys what it takes to actually run, institutional size money. What does it look like? What is the process? And what you'll find out is institutional investors, they have systems and processes, right? So it's a very systematic investing approach. Soup to nuts, cradle to grave. I want to really dig deep and have you guys understand a true systematic investment process that can, have duplicity, right? So it's not like you're looking at things on Reddit and, talking with your buddies. What does it look like to deep dive into an earnings report of a company, building your financial models, understanding a true, defined, systematic investing process. So that will be either next week's Behind the Street newsletter or the week after. And it may just be an audio as well as video interview. So please make sure you're up to date on that. Yeah, Cosmo Scary says, I'm excited for the lo-fi stream. That's coming very soon as well. Very, very soon. Ruby Falcone is here. G-Hope says, headline of the day, Action Kid moves to Miami. Yes, I heard that. I think he's going to enjoy it. It's beautiful there in Miami. Larry Astrosaur says, hey, Tom, AK is looking for a good place to live in Miami since he's moving there. Very cool. Yeah, I think he probably knows a lot of the areas, so he'll probably know where to look. It's very difficult to get a place down there. It seems like there's so many people moving there, so I wish him the best of luck for sure. San Miguel is here. Good to see you, San Miguel. Hope you're well. Santo is here. How are you, Santo? The Austin Tennis says, Tom, do you echo all the same sentiments AK mentioned about New York City in his video? Yeah, look, here's the thing about, if the reason why I moved to Southern Florida was really a business decision for me, right? So I no longer, work at a major tech company anymore. So if you're trying to build a startup, it's quite difficult to do that in a very high taxed place, especially if you don't have any VC money. And I didn't raise any money, and I don't want to raise any money. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, especially if you want to grow and hire people, because the tax burden is high. So that was one of the main reasons for me, but it's not like I'm going to leave New York entirely. I think it's just as a career move, as I try to build a company, for me, it was just the right choice. That doesn't mean, maybe if the company grows bigger, I'll open up an office here. I don't know. I hope so. But yeah, everything he said, I would probably echo it for sure. So now you're at the Stern building, NYU Stern. Hey, Lupe is here. Good to see you. Bob says, good evening, Tom. What's up, Bob? Rock Miller 3 says, greetings from Detroit. A good place for a startup. Good to see you, Rock Miller 3. Martinez says, anybody watching the State of the Union address, hit the like button. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm probably going to catch the highlights when I'm on the train. Yeah, Warwalker's like, y'all escapees are making the rents go up. Apologize for that, Warwalker. Cynthia Beal says, I'm not watching the news, but people mention crime in the subway today. There's crime in the subway every day, but that goes for all major cities. Mets fan 1023, good to see you. Hope you're well. Bernard Friedman says, I don't think Pensacola, Florida is a popular city. I've definitely heard of it. I think it's on the Panhandle, isn't it? The Panhandle of Florida. Mike P says, hello, Tom, old chap. Good to see you, Mike P. I hope you're well. Community Canners, his rent is up 40%. M Wall on the run, good to see you. Says the city has been like this for years. I left 10 years ago, and before I left, people always had those issues. Good to see M Wall on the run. San Miguel says, come on, Tom. We all know you're not trying to cash from us. Good to see you, my friend. Al Baker. What's up, Al? So everybody, we are on Green Street in Washington Place. One of my favorite spots. Near the one and only Washington Square Park. But that I'm not sure. But good to see you, KR. Hope everybody's well. Raul is here. Kenny C says, Tom, where in Manhattan is this? So we are near NYU. So New York University. And right in front of us is Washington Square Park. So it's going to be a shorter stream tonight, everybody. I do have to get an earlier train because I do have some big meetings tomorrow I got to be up early for. Mike Bell says, Boeing announced they will no longer support Russian airlines. Yeah, I heard that too. So Mike, I think that came directly after the news of AMD as well as Intel. They're stating that they are no longer going to be supplying chips to Russia. And as we were sort of talking about before, I think one of the major things that the market, I guess we'll go through the park. I guess one of the major things that the market was worried about in entirely, or in itself, was the vast majority of neon, which is a major component that goes into semiconductor manufacturing, comes exclusively out of Russia and Ukraine. But supposedly a lot of these big semiconductor companies have done a good job with managing that supply chain. So even if this persists, and when I mean this, I mean the war in Russia and Ukraine, even if it persists for maybe about 4 to 6 months, supposedly those companies are coming out and saying that they've sort of anticipated potential struggles in that area and they have plenty of stockpiles and supply chain management, which is good news, which is really good news. Hey, Carlos, good to see you. Yes, I did hear that. Good to see you, Carlos. Hey, chats, futures are green. Yeah, the market finished lower today, but we are still in that trading range. Chats, futures are green. Will the State of the Union address make futures green or red? You know, I don't know. I think as of now, I think what the market is really looking for now is what the Federal Reserve is going to do in March, right? And now today is the first day of March. Everybody, I mean, consensus is really Federal Reserve is probably going to raise 50 basis points, which is sort of the club I'm at. But one of the things that I've noticed, and I think this is sort of what I wanted to bring up on the stream tonight, is that 10-year Treasury yield has actually come down quite a bit. Has anybody been noticing that? That 10-year Treasury yield is, I believe, at 1.755%. And last week, you know, we were just talking about, wow, that US 10-year Treasury yield cracked 2% for the first time in a long time. You know, now we had a really, really hard reversal. So, I mean, a lot of interesting action in the bond market. A lot of interesting action in the bond market. And I think it's important to pay attention to it because if we think about the US 10-year Treasury, that's really, really important to pay attention to more specifically because of mortgage rates for that 30-year mortgage.
So you're just going
Bernard Friedman, hope you're well, my friend. Hey, I see Mike Simmons. Good to see you, Mike. This is Barely Green. Sebastian is here. Hope you're well. The ABX girl says, Tom, Russian figure skating team banned from the World Championships in France at the end of March. Oof. Robert Baker says, good evening, Tom. Do you watch the show Billions? So I don't. Mainly just because I don't have any of those streaming services. I don't subscribe to any of the streaming services. But it is a very popular show. And I think I'd like to get into watching it, perhaps. What about you? Do you watch it? Hey, Penelope's here. Good to see you, Penelope. Hope you're well. Penelope is joining us from Tennessee. Penelope, it's finally starting to warm up here after so long. So super excited about that. Hey, the Bandits has moved to Miami. Good to see you, the Bandit. I actually did, surprisingly. I did move there about 4 months ago, but good to see you. Nice Guy says the park will be packed in a few weeks. It will. Once the weather starts to get nice, can't wait. Hey, Sally says, hey, Tom, I am here. Good to see you, Sally. Hope you had a good Tuesday so far. Right in front of you, you can see the Empire State Building. Beautiful tonight, beautifully lit up. Hey, Gummy Bear says, Tom, what kind of walking shoes do you wear on the long walks? Do you use insoles? No, I don't. I just have regular, like, garbagey sort of skating shoes on, just like garbage shoes. The Dutchman says, Tom, CNN reporting Bitcom founder under investigation for a $2 billion Ponzi scheme. I haven't heard of that. Is that a company? If you want to put the link in the description, I would be more than happy to take a look. But that's crazy. There's been a lot of cryptocurrency scams lately. Did you guys see those two people? I think they were in their mid-20s. They hacked, I think, over $3 billion worth of Bitcoin. I think they're probably going to go to jail for a long time. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. This was not too long ago. Photos from around New York. Good to see you. Chris Beeman, Cynthia Beale is here. Glow Green says, you prefer the snow. Yeah, some people like it hot. Some people like it cold. Good to see you. Edson says, good evening, guy. Good to see you, Edson. Brian says, hello, Tom, and everybody in the chat. War Walker says, I think the pulling back on ships and airplanes, etc. is a bit late. Russia doesn't have answers to the sanctions. Cindy Foley, how are you? Good to see you. Chat says, yes, the 10 years a leading indicator. Rally time soon to come. Yeah, Chat Astronomer, I think that's a pretty good... I think it's a pretty good thought there. You know, and I think the main thing the market is looking for right now is it's in a holding pattern waiting to hear from the Fed. And I think the Fed is going to be the main driver of this market to see if we raise interest rates. You know, I was watching Bloomberg again today for a little bit, not for too long, but there was another person who came out and said that, look, with the Russia-Ukraine situation going on, they're predicting that the Fed is going to come out and not raise rates at all. I think if that happens, I believe the market would have a very negative effect, to be honest, because the Federal Reserve would lose all credibility, in my view. I think they at least got to raise it something, 25 basis points, 50 basis points, just something, just to install some of the credibility back. Lewis is here. Jason Wyatt. Good to see you, Jason. Yes, I did see that. Bowser in video games says, hey, Tom. Good to see you, Bowser. Hey, Crystal says, good evening, Tom. Hello, chat. Empire State Building, beautiful as always. Rich McNillis says, hello, everybody from Wisconsin. Good to see you. Hey, we have Mohammed Asim says, hey there. Good to see you, Mohammed. Al Baker says, I agree with you, Tom. We can't keep kicking the can down the road this time. Yeah, and so, Al, you make a good point, right, about kicking the can down the road. But, you know, even if the Federal Reserve raises rates 50 basis points, that's like, you know, that's nothing. That's still nothing. I mean, in comparison to what some other central banks are doing. I mean, Russia's at 20%. And we're freaking out because we maybe have a 50 basis point rate hike. And we're freaking out. I don't know what this guy's doing. Bowser says, what did you do today, Tom? I worked. It was a very busy day today. Really, really busy day. What about you, Bowser? Good to see you here. Yanni L says, hey, nice guy. Good to see you. Says, hello from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, so we are going to have the State of the Union address tonight. So I guess we'll see what comes out of the mouth of President Joe Biden. But I think the majority of the talk is going to be focused around Russia. For obvious reasons, I don't think that he's really going to be able to touch on anything else. I think this will give him sort of a pass, so to speak, about inflation. I doubt he will talk about it that much. Hey, Shot by Scott says, hey, Tom. Guess what? What's up, Shot by Scott? Good to see you. Welcome, everybody from Argentina. Hope you're well. Hey, Sam Pod says, Tom, AK has moved to Florida. I did hear about that. I think he's going to have a great time in Florida. Hey, Robbins is so happy to see this channel. So happy that you are here. Thank you for joining. Cynthia Beal says, Tom, is it true that the UE is freezing Russian accounts? Well, I think that the international community has unanimously decided that they are going to do everything they can to stop it. And I think if that means seizing assets and things like that, I think they're going to do it. Adrian Luce is, where are you at Midtown? We're not in Midtown yet. We're getting there. But we are near NYU. Marcelo is here. Says hello from Brazil. Good to see you, Marcelo. Tom M. Good to see you, my friend. The Bandit says, doesn't South America have oil? We are very close to South America. Well, I mean, the United States has oil. You know, we were energy independent, but I understand the notion that we want to switch over to green energy. But if we're doing it too fast, in which case that means we have to buy oil from dictators that are killing people, I think that's a bad move. And I think that we should start producing oil now and cutting Russia off that way. But I don't think we'll do that because that may make sense. So I don't think any politician may want to do that. I think they would want to perpetuate the cycle of war and death. Hey, the Bandit says, Tom, 8th Street looks quiet. Good to see you, the Bandit. The Swan says, Belarus president let it slip earlier, a while back, interviewed. Interesting. Miguel Gonzalez. Hey, Miguel. Check out this view we got here of the One World Trade Center. Miguel Gonzalez, good to see you. Talob says, I'm watching from down under in a very quiet, flooded Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Very cool. Love Australia. Welcome everybody from Australia. Thank you for joining. Hey, Stoney says, shout out from Brooklyn. Welcome everybody from Brooklyn, New York. Good to see you. So everybody, if you check your email, I did send out this week's issue of the Behind the Street newsletter to everybody. But next week or the week after, I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be interviewing one of my really good buddies who runs a mid-sized hedge fund out of Chicago, manages about $150 million. And what I want to do in next week's issue of the Behind the Street newsletter is structure it as an interview so the readers can understand what it takes to run institutional size money. What are the systematic processes that are involved? You know, what are sort of the characteristics of different companies that these big fund managers that are running institutional money, what do they look for? Do they look for earnings growth, return on equity, after-tax, pre-tax margins? You know, sort of what are these criteria that they look for? And I think it'd be interesting to sort of outline that for everybody. So you don't want to miss that. So if you want to sign up to receive that, if you type !news, NEWS in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link where you could sign up for the Behind the Street newsletter, and I will email it right to you guys. Hey, Mike S. says, hey, Tom, waiting to unload my 18-wheeler in Riverhead. Well, that's far out there. That's way far out there on Long Island Riverhead. Very cool. Hey, Lay says, hey, good to see you. Lewis says, Walks on Wall Street, Tom, that would be a great podcast. Yeah, so I'm going to send that out probably next week or the week after for the Behind the Street newsletter. Lewis, good to see you. Mike S. Ken Kramer says, yep, the Fed is an inflation creation machine. I agree. Hasten Jib says, hey, Tom, how are you? I'm doing really good. Hey, Michelle Henry says, I received my newsletter. How did you like it? Let me know if you liked it, didn't like it. I'm always open to feedback. Henry1124 says, hello. Good to see you, Henry. Welcome, everybody. Finally, it's not freezing out. I think this is the first night since we've been back in New York where it's not absolutely freezing. So that is a plus. Big W for tonight. Big W. But now we're on 6th Avenue. We're going to head uptown, back to the Moynihan train station.
Was it you, him, and...
We'll try to cross the street here without getting knocked off. Shop by Scott says, institutional branches of banks deal with business versus private individuals. So running institutional money means, either you're running for like high net worth individuals, if you are in a division of investment bank, if you're in like wealth management or something like that. But institutional investors can be thought of, the hedge funds out there where they're running money not of retail money, but of people that have, high net worths or ultra high net worth, something like that, that are accredited investors. Chat says, Biden seems lucid tonight. Good start. Michelle Henry says, I need to read the rest of it. I like it so far. Thank you so much. Hey, Sam Pod. Good to see you. Crystal. Abdul says, watching from Pakistan. Great stream. Welcome, everybody from Pakistan. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Ken Kramer says, buy the dip. Ruby says, 46 degrees tonight in New York City. Bring your shorts. It feels like it. It really, really feels like it. I mean, the past couple days have been brutal here. But it's always good to try to get outside when the weather is finally nice again. Hey, Amelia J says, I'm so happy that Action Kid moved to Miami. You're going to be neighbors. Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people from the Northeast are migrating to places like Southern Florida, Texas, Tennessee. I think over the long term, I'm very bullish on the startup environment, especially in areas of Brickell. I think there's going to be a lot of capital creation there. It's a good startup culture and it's a good startup environment. I'm not sure if anybody in the chat has been there, but it's a good environment, especially if you're early in your career, you're trying to start a company. Very business friendly there, very pro-business. Cindy Foley says, Tom, I left New York for Texas. What part of Texas? How do you like it? So I was back in the day, I was looking into Austin, Texas, which is a big technology hub now. Hey, Stephanie says, nice view of the West Village tonight. Yeah, the West Village is a fantastic neighborhood. Love it down here. Stephanie, good to see you. I hope you're well. Francis says, hola, hermano. Good to see you. Hey, Gregory says, yesterday got up to the mid-40s in Minnesota. Saw some guy on a motorcycle. Yeah, anytime you live in a state where it gets freezing, anytime it breaks about like 45, everybody starts coming out of the woodwork. Sam Pod says, Tom, I heard that IT growth is happening in Miami. Yeah, there's a lot of like software engineering jobs, things like that. But also if you head north of Miami to like Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, if you're in the hedge fund business, a lot of, jobs and a lot of hedge funds are migrating. Also, a lot of VCs are coming down. but I don't think it'll be exclusive. What I always like to say is, there's always this argument back and forth about, who's who and what is the greatest city to be in. And I think now that the digitization of the workforce has successfully happened, I think a lot of people are going to start to choose both, right? Because you can easily do your work from New York one week, from Southern Florida the next week, and still have an operational functioning business pretty easily. So I think companies are going to start to have multiple satellite headquarters in many different cities around the country. Hey, EBITDA says, hey, Tom, I have you on the PC and the State of the Union on the phone. Awesome. EBITDA, let us know what's going on with the State of the Union tonight. I think I'll probably catch the highlights after I stop streaming. But good to see you, EBITDA. XOXX Bob says, Tom, Biden is proposing a no-fly zone over in Ukraine. Hey, Jay, good to see you. Frank Gonzalez says, snowbirds. Good to see you, Jay. Hope you're well. Rich says, how Uno moving from Miami to New York City and back, from New York City hell to Miami paradise. I like both. I like both places. I think Miami is good for like pro-business opportunities, and New York is good for growing your network as well. I like both places. Jonathan Francis, what's up, Tom and company? Bloody day on Wall Street, as well as Ukraine. Good to see you, Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan, we were just talking about, we think that, or at least I think, the market's really waiting for the Federal Reserve now. Because I think we can conclusively say we pretty much know what's going to go on in Ukraine, right? The invasion happened, so that news is already old news, no matter how important that news may be. But now it's just interest rate policy. Is the Federal Reserve going to raise rates? Is it going to be 25 basis points, 50 basis points? We'll see. Hey, Irevis is here. Says hello, Tom, and everybody. Good to see you, Irevis. We're on 7th Avenue. Ethan G says, are you going back to Miami, Florida? Very soon we will be. Good to see you, Ethan. I hope you're well and having a good week so far. Roy S says, hey, Tom and mods, wishing everybody well. What's up, Roy? Hello from Tijuana, Mexico. Welcome. Mr. Lucas the Dog says, hey, Tom, on May 25th, the most important VCs from LATAM will meet in Miami at a conference. Well, I'll definitely be there because that is my birthday, May 25th. EBITDA says, Tom, he is joining other countries in Europe making a no-fly zone for Russia. Interesting. Yeah, but EBITDA, do you think that's going to be effective? Like, you think that's going to do anything? Kilo Whiskey Juliet says, hey, Tom. EBITDA says, everybody should give this video a like to help leverage the algorithm. Appreciate that, EBITDA. Slick Rick, good to see you, my friend. The ABX girl says, yes, and the U.S. will start confiscating Russian properties as well. Wow. We're going to see a lot of action here in New York as well as Southern Florida then, because there's a lot of what they call piggy banks in the sky. So, if you think about like 57th Street in Manhattan, so right up here, is called Manhattan's Billionaires Row. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of, let's just say, federal agents potentially in the vicinity if Biden is giving orders to seize different assets and things like that. And the number 2 spot for Russian money, I believe, is Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. Obviously New York is number 1 because New York is New York. But Sunny Isles Beach, Florida is not too far behind. Hey, Frank Gonzalez says, I believe you aren't an invasion geek, Tom, but Russians destroyed the largest aircraft in the world, Ukrainian aircraft. Wow. I didn't know that at all. That's horrible. The Bandit says, Tom, Sunny Isles Beach, Florida is full of Russian oligarchs over there. It's a beautiful neighborhood, but you are right. Dan McLaren says, Tom, Sunny Isles in Miami is all Russian. Roy S. says, Tom, you managed to convince Action Kid to move to Miami. Good to see you, Roy S. Look, I think he's going to have a great time. Miami is a great city. New York is a great city. So I think it's the best of both worlds. Hey, Triple G, how do you like those crude prices? Yeah, so ticker symbol CL, I think, cracked 100, ran to about 106. But I think that prices could go higher. I think they could go to about maybe 110, 115. But I think if you're thinking about a long position in oil, I mean, I think the asymmetric risk is now negative to neutral. I don't think I would be initiating a long position here. I would use these rallies to sell out of my positions and take some profits here. But that's just me. Could be wrong. Yeah, the Bandit says, Tom, Miami to New York City is a short flight, about 2 hours. Ken will be all right now. Yeah, so it takes me about 2.5 hours from JFK to Miami. And I only pay around $50 for the flight. So very cheap. You know, if you take an Uber, so think about this. If you take an Uber from Manhattan to JFK, it's going to cost you more than 2 plane trips back and forth between Miami to New York City, if you can believe that. But so flights are very, very affordable. That's also another reason why I chose Miami as the city, as my second city to live in, as opposed to Vegas or something like that, because the cost to travel back and forth is extremely, extremely cheap, as opposed to Vegas or something like that. The Bandit says, Tom, which airline do you use? So I just go to kayak.com. If you go to kayak.com, you can pretty much get extremely, extremely cheap flights. And I always either fly American or Delta. And very seldom do I pay anything more. So this is the State of the Union address. We'll give them some free press. I like how they have the QR code there. Not bad. Emilio J says, Action Kid said his flight was $42. That's a good price. Cosmo Scary says, Kayak should sponsor the stream. They should. Kayak, if you're listening. British Craze says, when you all think about it, everybody is leaving New York City. Well, I mean, here's what I think. There's a lot of people, and, you know, when I left to Miami, you know, I sort of got the same comments. Obviously not on the scale as Action Kid is getting, but the thing is, we live in a new world now where it's not like, you know, you settle down in Oklahoma and buy a house with the white picket fence and that's where you live for the rest of your life. You know, we are in a new economy. So I can live in Miami if I want. I can live in Texas if I want. I could live in Moscow if I want. I can live wherever I want. And be able to work wherever I want because I work in the technology sector. So if I get sick in Miami, I'll pick up and move. If I get sick in New York, I'll pick up and move. You know, before, it was impossible. You know, back in the 60s and 70s, that was impossible because you needed to be in the office. You needed to be there. Hey, Ken Kramer, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, Cosmo Scary makes a good point. New York City rent, the median rent is at an all-time record high. You know, we covered that a couple streams ago. The median rent in New York is now $3,400. That's crazy. And I think in major cities all over the world, what you're seeing is a major, major wealth disparity. And I think one of the main things that have caused all of this is all of this cheap money and the money printing. Because when you have a central bank that prints money, it gives off the appearance that it's helping the lower and middle class people. So everybody gets your stimulus check, everybody gets a little bit of extra liquidity. But really what happens is over time, all of those dollars start to chase too few assets, and it bids up the price of those assets. But if we take a step back, okay, who owns all of those assets? Well, the assets that are being inflated are not owned by the working class people in America. They're owned by the top 10, 5, and 1%. So, and I think that's why you're seeing in every major city in America, not just New York, but LA, Miami, you have rental prices skyrocketing, wages stagnating, and you have a two-tier society developing where you have the extreme haves and extreme have-nots. And that's all due to artificially low interest rates and central banking. Hey, Michelle says I shouldn't complain about my rent. Hey, Jenny says only 3% of the money supply is coin/printed. All of it, which is backed by Treasury bonds, is Jenny. Good to see you, Jenny. Triple G, good to see you. Hey, NMB045 says if I get sick of Montreal, I just visit New York City or Miami. You know, I actually met a lot of people in Miami that are from Canada. A lot of Canadians in Miami, surprisingly. Al Baker says, Tom, with the ruble being so beat up the last few days, you think it's investable? Probably not. I mean, you just have to think about your risk-reward profile. Like, why would I exchange my dollars for Russian rubles? Like, why would I do that? You know, why would I buy a bunch of Russian stocks? Although, you know, if you look at the Russian stock market, it was actually doing pretty well. It was actually, you know, if you had exposure to Russian equities over the past 5 years, you know, the odds are that actually added some significant alpha to your portfolio. But here's my theory about emerging markets, and I think this is why a lot of emerging market equities and companies trade at discounts to a U.S. equities. So a lot of the times you'll see, you know, value investors or people who run value hedge funds, they'll say, oh, this company is growing at the same rate or maybe just a little bit less than Amazon, so it should be trading at the same multiple. Well, no, it shouldn't, because you could have things like that happen where the country invades another country. That's not going to happen here. Or something can go on like what happened in China, where a lot of those education companies that were producing unbelievable amounts of cash flow, well, the government overnight said, you know what? We don't want private entities making money off education, so you're out of business. And all those stocks went to zero overnight. So I think that's why U.S. equities tend to trade at a premium valuation in comparison to emerging market countries because of the geopolitical risk. Ken Kramer says Putin set Russia back decades. I agree with that. Jenny says the money supply is not expanded significantly by printing. It's done by facilitating credit. Yeah, so Jenny, a good book that I read about that is, I think it's called, I'm blanking on the name. I think it's called End the Fed or The Fed. Wayne's World says if this guy is so good at investing, why is he walking the streets for super chats? Well, we do a show where we just walk around and don't necessarily talk about investments. We talk really about anything in just the global economy. And this is something I do after work for fun. But thank you for joining. But it's actually a pretty good comment. Cynthia Beal says, hey Tom, good to see you, Cynthia. Hope you're well. Sunshine After Rain says, hello Tom, everybody. What's up, Sunshine? Hey, Dan McLaren says also COVID has took a hit. Life, liberty, and guns. So where do you believe the bottom of the Dow will be and how long? I have no idea. So what I like to do is just wait for a follow-through day. And if you want to know exactly what a follow-through day is, I've linked in the description a video from Investors Business Daily that details exactly how you could identify a follow-through day. Because if we look at historical trends of the market, not all follow-through days will work, but there's never been the start of a new bull market without a follow-through day. So this will allow me not to try to pick a bottom or a top or something like that. Ken Kramer, good to see you. So I've been seeing a lot of these electric cars around. FK, good to see you. EBITDA, hope everything is well with you. The Bandit says Russia must be punished severely. China is watching. A message must be sent. China will invade Taiwan. They are watching. Russia must be punished. Yeah, so I really don't think that China will invade Taiwan. But then again, I was wrong about if Russia were to invade Ukraine. I thought it was never going to happen. But then again, something that was encouraging is the Chinese did come out and denounce the invasion of Ukraine. EBITDA says, damn, they're getting snowed on now in Kyiv. Brutal. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they do it over there. I mean, some parts of Russia and Ukraine are just, man, I mean, well, you know, I was actually reading an interesting article in the New York Times about how Russia has such a high rate of depression and suicides. And one of the consultants that they talked to, and I'm not sure how much weighting we could put on that, they attested it to just the weather. It's cold, it's dark, you know, there's not a lot of sun. And the drug usage in Russia is wild, off the chain. But look, a lot of people are worried about, you know, the US equity markets during this time of war. But, you know, I was reading an article in Barron's and I thought it really segmented it out really good. And they said, look, all of the sales in the S&P 500, out of all the sales in the S&P 500 companies, only 0.1% come from Russia. So that's pretty insignificant. So even if Russia fell off the face of the earth and never bought another American company or a product ever again, that would only be 0.1% of overall sales. EBITDA says everyone needs to take care of their mental health and buy a second home on the beach. Agreed, EBITDA. Hilarious. Kumar says, Tom, you think NATO is also a little responsible for the mess that's happening now? I think so, but I don't think that just because, you know, the United States and, you know, other NATO countries were dangling membership in front of Ukraine's face, that it was justified for Putin to wage war and kill a bunch of innocent people. That I don't think, but I do see the argument where some people could say, look, you know, Putin doesn't want NATO right on his front doorstep, which, okay, I understand that, but that doesn't give you the justification to go in, invade a country, and kill a bunch of people, in my view. So that's sort of where I think that argument maybe goes a little bit downhill, because I see the overall premise why Putin would be upset, but that doesn't mean you invade a country and kill people. Lewis says, I agree, Tom. Carter says, yep, good to see you. But Kumar, it's a good point. Thank you for joining, Kumar.
Hey, Mr. Shea Butter says, hey Tom, do you still have your 24/7 live stream channel? So it's coming back. I'm beta testing a couple things. So I was using originally an Oracle cloud server, in which case I am now migrating over to Azure, because one of my friends gave me, or allowing me access to it for free. But I think the only thing I'm waiting for is I just want some new footage for it. So we are gonna have the 24/7 skateboarding stream up very, very soon. But I'm still making some tweaks and beta testing some things. Hey, R2D2 is here, good to see you. Raphael says, hello Tom, is it safe? I feel pretty safe. Good to see you. Cynthia Beale says, the children is what worries me the most, children in war. Yeah, I mean, I was reading some really horrible reports out of Reuters today, saying that I believe that there was a direct hit on some apartment building in Kyiv, I believe, and there was like a casualty of a 6-year-old child, which was horrendous to read about, but you make a good point. Hey, Dante Rose is here, says, hey Tom, good to see you. Hope you're well. Hey, Jared Kobe says, Tom, Russia is a major supplier of oil and gas to Europe. That they are. That they are. Hey, NMB045 says, yes, Tom, please work on the 24/7 stream. It would be awesome to focus to work again. Yeah, so I probably, honestly, if I had to give an exact date, I'm gonna say by mid-March, the 24/7 skate stream should be up by mid-March. Don't hold me to that, but if I had to give a rough estimate, probably mid-March. So now we are passing the Fashion Institute of Technology, which is a SUNY school. Raphael, good to see you. Hey, Mr. Shea Butter, good to see you. David says, Tom, what do you think of Action Kid moving to Miami? I think he's gonna have a good time there. Beautiful, beautiful location there. Kumar says, thanks, Tom. My kid gets ready for school at this time in India, in Bangalore. Very cool. So she too gets a chance to view the streets of New York City. Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for watching. Dante Rose is here. Good to see you, Dante. Soho guy, good to see you. Mr. Shea Butter says, hey Tom. Harkle says, hello from Naples, Florida. My wife is taking a real estate broker's exam tomorrow. Wish her luck. Hey, good luck. Good luck to you. Yeah, I think the 3 top hottest real estate markets were Arizona, more specifically Phoenix, Miami, and I believe Houston.
This was the thing I was like,
I mean, it seems just like so many people have been moving from California to more so on the East Coast. A lot of people from California moving to New York. A lot of people from California moving to New York. Carter says, what is SUNY? So SUNY stands for State University of New York. So you also have CUNY, which is the City University in New York. So these schools tend to be a little bit more affordable than the private schools, where you can just get a solid education and not pay too much, which is always good. Dante Rose says, can Python make an app like WhatsApp, Tom? Well, I think you're probably going to need to use multiple different languages to make a front end and a back end interface. But if you want to, there's a good website if you want to start to learn, pick up some languages. If you go to codeacademy.com, you could actually start to work on free Python courses, C++, And it's all for free. Those are really good, really good tools. Hey, Triple G. This is Tom. You and AK now both have roots in New York and live in Miami. And both have brothers in Boston. You guys mirror one another. Yeah, it is kind of crazy to think about. The Bandits is Nevada. A lot of California people have been moving to Las Vegas as well. Yeah, I have heard about that too. So when I was looking at places to live outside of New York, Nevada did come up in conversation, but it's just too far away. It's just way too far away. And, you know, I wanted to stay on the East Coast, and I didn't want to live in the desert, because even though Florida is extremely hot, I mean, at least it's not like the desert where there's no water. You could at least go to the beach. But good to see you, Dante Rose. Triple G, hope you're well. Hey, Razzle Dazzle, good to see you. Me, 1 month I'll be in New York. Awesome, Razzle Dazzle. So Razzle Dazzle is our pal from California. That's an MRI technologist. Good to see you. Cosmo says my family is moving to Nevada. No way. Cosmo, does that mean you're leaving New York too? No way. Cosmo, you can't leave. You can't leave, my friend. Gregory says, Tom, Coursera is also good for learning as well. Yeah, Coursera is pretty good. Coursera is pretty good as well. You're right, Gregory. EBITDA says, walks on Wall Street. Now he is talking about tax credits for anyone who updates a home, wants equal taxes for all people and corporations. He said he will make prescription prices negotiated by Medicare. So I think that all sounds good except for the last one. But then again, this could be used. Dante Rose says, I wouldn't be surprised if the next person that might move to Miami is Fernando. Hilarious. Well, I think he likes it down there. I think he does enjoy Miami. The Bandits is Tom. South Florida is perfect, close to New York City. I agree. A lot of banking and real estate businesses, very similar to New York. Yeah, I think you're right. So Goldman Sachs, a very small piece of their asset management division is now down in Southern Florida. But if you look at some of the top hedge funds as well as venture firms, a lot of them are migrating down to Southern Florida. But I think one of the main things that's a little bit disingenuous about those headlines is, you know, the media makes it out to seem like all of these companies are leaving New York and moving to Texas, moving to Florida. And even though that's true, but they're just setting up like satellite offices. It's not like they're going to close down all operations in other cities. I think a lot of companies are doing this to allow the ease of use and attract top talent. So if you want to have people work in New York, you can work in New York. If you want to have people work in Southern Florida, you can do that as well. Hey, Techno Pink is here from the Dominican Republic. Good to see you, Techno Pink. Hey, Poon Adams says, good evening. How are you? Hey, Barry Bus is, anywhere with warm weather is naturally going to attract people. I bet people won't have an issue finding housing in Minnesota or Wisconsin. Good to see you, Barry Bus. Bonnie Hudson says, hello, Tom and everybody. What's up, Bonnie Hudson? Feedy says, is New York City a safe place to live? Yeah, I think it's relatively safe. I think every place is going to have its issues, unfortunately, but that's any major big city in America. You know, if you live in a big city, you know, you just have to take normal precautions. Hey, Wallow all the time, good to see you. Says, you and Kirby Bar sound similar. Hey, Roxanne Robles. Did you guys talk about AL? Or AK, I mean. Yes, we did. I think he's going to have a good time. I think he's going to have a good time there in Southern Florida. Hey, Realty by Lance says, hi, Tom. Just getting on tonight. It's March 1st. Last of the month quarter. What's the topic for tonight? So Realty by Lance, we were actually just briefly talking about interest rates. I'm finding the movement in the bond market quite interesting, especially that 10-year Treasury yield. It's actually managed to come down a little bit. 2 weeks ago we were doing a stream saying, that 10-year Treasury yield is now at 2%, or cracked a little bit above 2%, but now it's settled back down at 1.77%. So I think this market is just in a little bit of a holding pattern to wait to see what the Federal Reserve is going to do. But I think if we're relating it to the housing market, 2 weeks ago there were all these articles, the 30-year mortgage note is now demanding 4% and it's going to crash the market. And I think those kind of headlines are clickbaity and kind of ridiculous. 30-year rates now are probably well below 4%. Because obviously that 10-year US Treasury really predicts the 30. But Realty by Lance, what are you seeing? What are you seeing in terms of the buying behavior of some of your clients there in Southern Florida? Do you have a pretty big pipeline? Or sort of, what are you seeing on the street there?
Because 2008.
Yeah, Realty by Lance says, it will be interesting to see what the Fed does. I agree. Tech Explorers with videos says, or Two Explorers videos, this is true with some tech jobs, but anything hands-on, you need to have people in person. Exactly. So you nailed it right on the head. You were correct. And I think that's why Mayor Eric Adams wants people to come back to the city. Volar, good to see you. Joseph says hello from Northern California. Welcome everybody from Northern California. Hope you're having a great night. RJ says Tom, gold climbs too. Yeah, RJ, I think we're back above 1900 in gold for the first time in a while. And we wrote about that in the newsletter. Gold is building a massive base. Seems like we're having a little bit of a flight to safety. Realty by Lance says, yes, sir, a massive pipeline, and there's still massive interest from buyers right now. Wow. Well, Lance, that's really good to hear. That's really good to hear because, and also, just if I may ask, what are you seeing in terms of the viability of the clients? So the qualifications, because a lot of times I've been getting a lot of these emails of different people. There's actually one major analyst on Wall Street that you guys would know him by name sent me an email with some pretty interesting ideas about the housing market. But I mean, what I think is, in 2008, you had so many people getting and qualifying for loans that they were obviously should never have been qualified for. No income verification, no credit check. And a lot of these loans were adjustable rate mortgages. But now the underwriting quality is extremely, extremely tight. It's not those lackadaisical underwriting quality that they had during 2008. So Realty by Lance, are you seeing the people that are buying there in Southern Florida? Are they putting big down payments? Are they all cash buyers? Sort of, what is the quality of the buyer you're seeing? Al Baker says, what's the best month to visit New York? I'd probably say May. Hey, Claudio's here. Says, hey, Tom, greetings from Brazil. Welcome, everybody from Brazil. Joseph says, I'm trying to lay up the bed with propped pillows. Very cool. Volar says, what is our destination today? I think we're going to walk up 6th Avenue. We haven't walked up 6th in a while. But it's going to be a shorter stream tonight, everybody. I do have a lot of meetings tomorrow. So I have to take one train earlier because I got to get up early, unfortunately. Hey, Ruby Falcone is here. Good to see you. Steve says, I would rather watch this than Mardi Gras live. Thank you, Steve. Hope everybody is enjoying New York. Somebody says the Russians are jumping into crypto. EBITDA says, Tom, I got to go watch a movie with a girlfriend. Have a good night. EBITDA, thank you for joining. Appreciate you, my friend. EBITDA is our investment banking friend at BAML, Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Good to see you and thank you for joining. Here's the comment that I wanted. Realty by Lance says there's about 20% more buyers than the previous year. They're paying all cash. Wow. There are more qualified buyers, and the ones with financing are placing large down payments. So I think it's really important for everybody to read Realty by Lance's comment, because I think it's potentially quite easy for, you know, a lot of the people in the financial media to say, look, just because the housing market is on fire and it's going up and up and up, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's a bubble. Because if you look at what the catalysts were for the 2008 financial crisis, it was allowing people that were not qualified to buy a home on adjustable rate mortgages. But now, to Lance's point, you know, if you have people that are buying all cash, you know, what is there to default on? Right? So you can't default on a mortgage if you don't have one. So that's really what caused the massive declines in 2008, was everybody at the same time defaulting on their loans when interest rates were going up, because their interest rates were changing on their loans. But now the vast majority of people have fixed rate mortgages. And to Lance's point, if they're not putting 100% cash, at least 20%, and that's a significant down payment. Realty by Lance says this is the strongest that the market has ever been in this cycle so far. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, just to give you an idea, Steve says, yeah, but a lot of that 2008 results from greed of the banks as well. Yeah, I agree. But I also think it was due to, you know, artificially low interest rate policy in the Federal Reserve and a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, bankers were doing a lot of things that were unethical, for sure. And the worst thing that they were doing is they were collateralizing all these debt obligations and selling them on Wall Street. So it was essentially whichever bank got left holding the bag went under. But good point, Steve, good point. George says down payments are everything. Dante Rose says, Tom, you're almost at 13,000 subscribers. Wow. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing to the channel. It's always fun to chat with everybody after a long day at work. It's cool to share ideas with each other. So thanks, everybody, for joining. And also, thank you, everybody, for reading the newsletter that I write. I think now we just surpassed 600 people that have been signed up to read the newsletter. So that's been fantastic. So thank you, everybody. Hey, Buy the Book says, the price of gas is exorbitant in New York and Florida as it is on the West Coast. Well, what are you paying a gallon in California? Because here I think it's... Actually, I'm not sure. I don't drive a car. Realty by Lance is absolutely, you are right, Tom. This is a completely different situation than 2008. At present, there is no overwhelming concern about the strength of borrowers that are applying for loans. Yeah, so Realty by Lance, I think you're right. But I hate saying, oh, it's different this time. Because as you know, the old saying on Wall Street is, you know, if you say that it's different this time, you know, you're gonna get, it's never different. But I mean, this time it seems like, you know, everything you're saying, Lance, I agree with. And just to give you some perspective, when I bought my place in Southern Florida, it was so difficult for me to get a loan. Like, it was crazy hard for me to get a loan. And, you know, I was coming from New York at the time, and, you know, at the time I was still on a W-2. Technically, I still could have used my W-2 to qualify for that loan. And I had a very, very good income. And still, they were like, no, you gotta still have somebody else co-sign it because your credit history is too new. And my credit score was damn near perfect. But they didn't like the fact that I didn't have a lot of credit history, because I don't do debt. I hate debt. I don't have debt. And I only had one credit card. But they're like, you don't really have enough borrowing history. So I had to put 25% down on the place, even when I really didn't have to. But that's the only way I could have gotten the loan, is that, like, you have to put 25% down. I was like, all right. Hey, Jimmy Anderson is here. What's up, Jimmy? Jimmy Anderson is the founder of the Beer and Bets podcast. What's up, Jimmy? Good to see you. It's a nice Tesla in front of us. Yeah, Ruby Falcone says, yikes, 25%. Yeah, what I originally wanted to do is I wanted to put, like, just to start, I wanted to put 3% down, use a lot of leverage, but then rent out the individual rooms, and the place would have cash flowed still, like, a lot. But I'm like, look, if I had to put down 25%, you know, my mortgage is going to be like nothing. So, you know, whatever. Aya 47 or 74 says, you must have never had student loans. No, I was very, very lucky. I didn't have any college debt ever. I went to college right here in the City University of New York, so I didn't have to take on any debt. So if you go to an in-state school, or if you go to a city school, the tuition is going to be like $2,000 a semester. Hey, Steve says regular unleaded in West Texas is $3.19 a gallon. 2 Explorers Video says $3.55 a gallon yesterday at a big box store in Oneonta, New York. G Hope says, I have 2 cars but no idea how much gas costs because I work remotely and every drive I take is just a few miles, so I never have to fill up the pump. Well, G Hope, that's a phenomenal problem to have, to be honest. You know, it's not like you're beating up your car either. Realty by Lance is right. You don't have a car loan, and this was your first home purchase. Yeah, it was. Yep. That's why they had additional requirements for you. Much better safeguards in place, so there isn't a repeat of 2008. Exactly. Yeah, and I had a lot of cash in the bank, and I was making a good income. You know, like well into the 6-figure income at a tech company in the city, and still they're like, no thanks. They're quite literally like, no, there's like, no thanks. Carter says, what year did you graduate? 2018? I should remember that, 2018. Kilo Whiskey Juliet says, I only went to a CUNY school. Yeah, CUNY's great. CUNY's great. I went to John Jay. So Cosmo is a fellow CUNY alumni as well. Buy the book, says Tom, it's near $5 a gallon in most parts of California. That's too crazy. At that point, I think I would just cave in and buy a Tesla. At that point, I mean, if I'm paying $5 a gallon, I think at that point, I'm just going to cave in and buy a Tesla. Wow, $5 a gallon, dude. I couldn't even imagine that. I would just buy a Tesla, to be honest. Realty by Lance. Oh, Realty by Lance. What about that new building that's going up in Sunny Isles Beach? The Bentley Tower. Are they already selling units for that, or is that not yet on the market. A lot of people have been sending me articles about that tower. I'm not even sure if they broke ground on that yet. Hey, Patty C4. See you. Good to see you, Patty. Hope you're well. Says my grandma had a house in Brooklyn and sold it, and the family had gone to Florida for the price for the home in Brooklyn. She was able to afford 4 homes in Florida. Wow. That's crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, if you owned a place in Brooklyn, I mean, wow, you probably sold that at a really, really nice profit. That's